You're poor, and you're not embarrassed to come to the bank.
As I was leaving the bank after finishing my business, a newcomer spat out at me. Ignoring him seemed to irritate him further, and he started to say something outrageous.
Planning to run away? Then don't ever come back. Poor folks should just stash their cash under the mattress.
If that's how it's going to be, I'll do as he wishes. As you say, I am poor, so I will no longer use this bank. My name is John. I run a factory inherited from my father. Now 63, I still feel young at heart, though I'm more of an analog person and not great with machines. That's why I've completely handed over computer-related tasks to my son. Why don't you hand it over to your son and retire? My wife also suggests, but as long as my body can work, I want to work. It's not that I don't trust my son. Right after graduating from college, he started working at this factory, gaining experience and earning the trust of the other employees. But I just love to work. Working in this industry, we're sometimes looked down upon just for being a factory. Sure, most of our work is subcontracting, and in terms of visibility, we're worlds apart from companies you see on TV. But there are benefits to being a small company. For example, we all nurture newcomers together, and the employees are like family. It's the warmth that comes from being able to sit down and talk with everyone. As I've gotten older, I've come to feel that more strongly. Ever since I was little, my father, Tom, kept saying I would take over as president someday. As a child, I was proud to follow in his footsteps, but as I grew up, it felt more like pressure, and my teenage years were full of rebellion against him.
Study properly. You won't be able to carry on the company like that.
I was always scolded by my father, since I didn't like studying much.
I'm sick of a life decided by you. I'll decide my own life.
With that, I got a job at a different company and left home. Since then, I hardly visited my parents' house, and the relationship with my father was strained. It was about 10 years after leaving home that the relationship with him began to improve. Deciding to get married, I returned home for the first time in a long while to introduce my fiancé. As I hadn't seen him in a long time, he seemed much older. Until then, I had thought of my father as being eternal, unchanging. It's natural for him to age as I do, but I remember being shocked by that realization. Persuaded by my wife, I returned home to work at his company, starting from scratch, just like any other new employee. Recognized by my seniors and my father, I took over as president at the age of 40. It's been over 20 years since then. Though we've had tough times with the economic fluctuations, we've managed to get through by sticking together. There's a major bank branch near the factory, which is convenient and where I always go. It can get a bit crowded, but the bank staff service is always courteous and pleasant. But things changed a bit this year. Among the new recruits this year, there was one with a bad attitude. His name is Ryan. I had dealt with him before when I used the bank. One day, I went to the bank to withdraw $300. He was polite and friendly, and despite being young, he seemed competent, handling his tasks efficiently without keeping customers waiting.
Thank you for waiting. What can I do for you today?
I'd like to withdraw $300, please. After I handed over my bank book, he made an obviously annoyed face.
Just $300.
Yes, $300 is fine.
I'll call your number so please wait in the seating area.
Though he seemed polite, as I was returning to the waiting area, I heard Ryan mutter under his breath,
Just $300, pathetic.
He must have thought he was speaking quietly enough not to be heard, but I have good hearing. However, I didn't want to make a fuss over such a minor thing and be labeled a complainer, so I pretended not to hear it.
Number 48. Your transaction is ready.
I was called to the counter soon after. He appeared to be acting normally, but as I was about to take the money and leave, I heard him mutter again,
Don't come back, poor guy.
I was quite upset, but I decided to just leave the bank. After that, I used the bank several times, and Ryan happened to be my teller. He seemed displeased with me, only making small transactions, and his service became sloppy, adopting a disdainful attitude. Every month, the day before payday, I go to the bank to make deposits. Since we have a small number of employees, that's been sufficient, and I use the bank near the factory for this purpose. Normally, I'd go first thing in the morning or change during lunch break, but today, with a deadline approaching and no time to spare, I thought the bank being so close, I could just go in my work clothes. The bank was just around the corner, so I figured it would be fine as is and headed to the bank in my work clothes from the factory. Today it was quite crowded, and it looked like there would be a long wait. I just wanted to finish up smoothly and get back to help with the work. While waiting for my turn, about 15 minutes later, it was finally my turn. Looking at the counter, the teller was Ryan, of all people. Of all days, it had to be today. Ryan glanced at my clothes and made an obviously displeased face.
Wearing dirty clothes in here.
I'm already used to Ryan's verbal abuse by now. Not wanting to waste time engaging, I pretended not to hear and took out the deposit slip. I need to make a deposit. Sorry for the large amount, I said, handing over the deposit slip. But he didn't take it.
Seems like you didn't hear me, so I'll make it clear. This place isn't for poor people like you. Do you understand?
I've been using this bank for many years, and there's no minimum amount for deposits. Besides, I am the president of a company, so I certainly earn more than a new employee. What's the idea trying to drive away a customer?
People like you, dressed in dirty clothes, just being here damages our bank's image. It's really quite a nuisance.
Ryan said, sighing exaggeratedly. Sure, these work clothes are quite worn, but not to the extent that they damage the bank's image. I'm sorry, but I'm in a hurry today. Can we make this quick? When I responded calmly, it seemed to irritate him.
I'm telling you to leave. Didn't you hear me? Always coming to the counter for such small amounts. Stop wasting our time. Unlike you, I'm not idle.
His words were infuriating, but I had to make the deposit today. The salaries have to be available for withdrawal by 10 a.m. That's the guideline we're given. It's not legally required to be by 10 a.m., and it wouldn't be a problem if it's later on the same day, but it would inconvenience the employees. Is that so? Understood. Hesitating on what to do next, I decided to wait in line again and get someone else to handle it. It took longer than planned, but continuing to deal with Ryan would be a waste of time. If it was going to take time anyway, better to avoid his rude remarks. Reluctantly, I waited in line again. It seemed the peak had passed, and there were fewer people waiting than before. While waiting in the seating area, I saw Ryan being called over by his supervisor. Getting a lecture, maybe, I thought, and in about 5 minutes, it was my turn, but this time I was called to a different teller. Without mentioning my attire, they smoothly accepted the deposit slip. Finally, having completed my task, I was about to return to the factory when Ryan stopped me outside the bank.
Wait a minute.
Just when I thought I could finally leave, I wondered what he wanted. Moreover, his polite speech had completely disappeared, now speaking informally. This isn't how you talk to a customer. What is it? I finished my business and was about to leave.
You just said what is it to me. I get scolded because of you. Don't mess with me.
The scolding he received earlier was probably about his attitude. But this is a ridiculous accusation. It's his lack of professional manners that's the problem, not anything else. He was probably told to apologize, but instead of doing so, he's lashing out. If you get scolded, it's not my fault. Other staff treated me just fine. You're the one at fault for trying to kick me out with your arbitrary logic.
It's your fault for coming to the bank even though you're poor. I was just kindly telling you that you're out of place. You insisted on staying, and that's why I get scolded.
He clearly has no intention of listening. I'm glad we don't have anyone like him among our younger employees. Am I not allowed to come to the bank because I'm poor? There's no such rule, right?
It's not about rules. Aren't you embarrassed to come here?
I've never thought it embarrassing to go to the bank. It's a place I use because I need to, nothing more. Do people really worry about appearances in such places? Do you worry about how you're seen by others when you go to the bank? That sounds like a hassle.
I'm not poor like you. I don't wear shabby clothes even when I'm just stepping out.
I couldn't help but retort. To get back quickly, I decided to ignore whatever else he said. Is that so? I'm in a hurry, so I'll be going now.
Planning to run away? Then don't ever come back. Poor folks should just keep their money under the mattress.
For a moment, I was dumbfounded by his words. Mattress banking, as if I could store the important company funds like that. It contains the employees' salaries. I had trusted this place to keep it safe. But well, if that's how far he's going to go, I might as well do as he wishes. Is that so? Understood. As you say, I am poor, so I will no longer use this bank. Ryan seemed taken aback by my smooth retreat. He probably thought I would argue back and was ready to use that as an outlet for his stress. I'll come back another day to close the account. With that, I returned to the factory. After successfully meeting the deadline and when things had calmed down, I was at another bank, opening a new account. It's a bit farther from both my home and factory than the current one, making it slightly inconvenient, but I chose this bank because I heard I could use ATM services at convenience stores and handle payroll transactions online. I'm not great with the internet, but my son has taught me a lot, and I indeed find it convenient. After opening the new account, I headed to the bank near the factory I always used. My goal today was to transfer all the money to the new account and close the old one. This way, I truly wouldn't need to come to this bank again. The bank was not busy today, and it was my turn quickly.
What can I do for you?
I want to transfer the entire balance of $350 million from this account to another one.
$350 million. Excuse me, but is there any chance this could be a scam?
The bank clerk seemed bewildered by the large sum. It's fine. I've opened a new corporate account at another bank, so I came to close this account.
Just a moment, please. I'll call the branch manager.
The clerk hurriedly went to the back. Guided by the returning clerk, I was led to a partition booth.
Sorry for the wait. I'm Anderson, the branch manager. May I ask why you're closing your account?
I've opened an account at a bank near the station, so I plan to use that as my main bank from now on. Therefore, I won't be using this bank anymore and would like to close my account. Mentioning the rival bank, Anderson looked panicked.
But that's a bit far, isn't it? Considering your factory's location, our bank would be more convenient.
The distance is farther, but I've made arrangements to operate online, so there's no need to worry. Anderson tried to convince me with various benefits, but I had no intention of agreeing.
Is there a specific reason why our bank won't do?
There's a young banker here named Ryan. He told me poor people shouldn't come to the bank and should just keep their money under the mattress, so I decided to close my account to avoid coming here.
What? Ryan said that? I'm terribly sorry.
Anderson was mortified and repeatedly apologized. I've been using this bank for years and always found the service courteous and pleasant. I don't think everyone at this bank shares his views, but his actions were too much. Anderson said he would call Ryan over, and soon Ryan was brought in, looking dragged.
You've been quite rude. What were you thinking, speaking to our customer like that?
Under Anderson's stern questioning, Ryan stumbled over his words.
But I've dealt with this person several times, and he always uses only a little money. It's a nuisance when we're busy.
Anderson was exasperated by Ryan's reasoning.
How can you say such things to our customer? Judging people by the amount of money they use is not fitting for a banker.
Ryan seemed taken aback by Anderson's strong words.
What you did was wrong, and it can't be undone. But what's important is what you do next. Apologize properly to John. I'll apologize with you.
Anderson, now speaking in a calmer tone, urged Ryan to apologize. But, pride wounded after being scolded by his supervisor, Ryan became defiant.
I haven't done anything that requires an apology. I just said it was a nuisance because it is. I'm just stating facts. Even Anderson must think it's a waste of time to be bothered with small matters.
I taught you to treat every customer with importance, no matter how small the matter. I instructed you to handle each task with care. It's the accumulation of these small efforts that builds a good bank.
Anderson's tone remained calm, but his disappointment was clear.
I'm sorry my training did not prevent you from experiencing discomfort. I truly apologize.
No, I understand your words were sincere, as I've been a regular customer. As someone who also manages employees, I felt a bit of sympathy for Anderson. No matter how well you teach, if the person isn't willing to learn, it doesn't mean anything.
It helps a little to hear you say that. I'll take care of the cancellation process for you.
What, you're really going to cancel? Why is Anderson bowing down to someone like this? He's not even going to be our customer anymore. There's no point in sucking up.
Ryan reacted to the mention of cancellation. Thinking about it, his attitude of pandering makes sense given his excessively rude behavior up until now.
Being cancelled by someone like him doesn't hurt or itch me. It's lucky to have less useless work. Efficiency is important, as Anderson always says. I haven't done anything wrong, right?
We were dumbfounded by Ryan's blatant defiance.
Someone like him. You don't understand what kind of person John is, do you?
I understand perfectly. A poor person who doesn't deposit much money, but has the leisure to come to the bank.
Ryan said, laughing outright.
You don't understand at all. John runs a factory and has been managing a corporate account with us. depositing hundreds of billions. You chased him away when he tried to transfer from the corporate account.
Wait, but he always.
When you were in charge, it was for his private matters. There's a separate savings account, so that account doesn't have much in it. He was chased away by you the last time he tried to make a transfer. I even have proof, showing Ryan the passbook. Ryan, who had assumed I was poor, started panicking, realizing he was about to lose a major client because of his actions.
If I knew, I wouldn't have done that. Why didn't you tell me, Anderson?
I did tell you during your initial training, and I've been saying every day to treat all customers with courtesy.
Ryan tried to shift the blame, but it was clearly his own fault.
Please, I apologize, don't cancel. I'm truly sorry. I'll be sure to be more polite from now on.
Though he apologized, it was clear it was just superficial. Apologies now won't make me cancel the cancellation. How can I trust someone who judges and looks down on people based on whether they have money?
I'm truly sorry. I really am reflecting on my actions.
No matter how much he apologized, his words felt empty. If you had said that as soon as you came in, things might have been different. But it's too late for apologies now. It's no one's fault but your own that it's come to this.
Just because I'm apologizing, you think you can look down on me.
His momentary show of humility quickly faded, revealing his true feelings again. Ryan's face was openly sullen.
If you don't shape up, we might have to consider letting you go.
Anderson raised his voice.
Are you threatening me? I'll report this to the headquarters. I'm being bullied by Anderson.
Thinking he had no chance of winning against me, Ryan started to attack Anderson. Perhaps he was hoping to obscure his own responsibility for the cancellation.
You're free to report whatever you want about me to the headquarters. I have nothing to hide, and I will ensure you are dealt with appropriately.
Don't mess with me. I've done nothing wrong. I am.
Ryan kept insisting he was not at fault and acted like a petulant child unwilling to listen. He probably hasn't matured emotionally. That's exactly why you're not trustworthy. You're not really sorry. Don't think you can just smooth things over superficially. All you care about is avoiding responsibility. That hit home, and Ryan glared at me in silence. Because of your actions, the bank has lost $350 million. The branch manager was willing to apologize with you, and you wasted that. Even a newcomer should understand the gravity of their actions. Reflect on this properly from now on. Finally, Ryan had nothing to retort. He opened his mouth several times as if to say something, but no words came out. In the end, Anderson processed the cancellation, and I transferred the corporate account to another bank.
I truly apologize for this time and thank you for using our services over the years. If there's ever a chance, please consider using us again.
Anderson politely saw me out as I left the bank. Though I feel sorry for Anderson, I doubt I'll ever consider using this place again. Anderson had been generous in his response to Ryan's actions, considering Ryan was still in his first year, opting for a severe reprimand and a pay cut with the intention of retraining him from scratch. However, it seemed Ryan couldn't stand being scolded severely. He probably wasn't used to being reprimanded. Despite Anderson's kindness, Ryan wasted it, sulking and letting his work attitude deteriorate further. His colleagues looked at him coldly. He caused a major problem with his actions, yet showed no remorse and sulked instead. No one was willing to cover for such a person. Ryan seemed to have become isolated. Anderson had been willing to look after him until the end, but Ryan pushed him away. "It's your fault I'm in this situation," he lashed out, eventually quitting on his own by slamming down his resignation letter.
There are plenty of companies that want me.
He left with those parting words, but real life was not so easy. Ryan thought he would quickly find another job, but he was repeatedly rejected at the document screening stage, not even making it to an interview. He hadn't realized how harshly the world judges a newcomer who quits within a year. Unless it was due to illness, injury, or an exceptionally toxic workplace, quitting so soon is generally seen unfavorably, and Ryan's case was simply running away. Even if he managed to get to an interview, pausing would be difficult. Having been part of many interviews, I've seen a lot of people. Among them were young individuals who, like Ryan, quit their jobs shortly after starting. I've heard various reasons, including complaints about their previous companies and admissions of lacking patience. We've hired such young people if they seemed capable of continuing with us, but if I were the interviewer, I wouldn't choose Ryan. He hasn't shown remorse for his actions and would likely quit again if faced with similar circumstances. Experience teaches you to recognize such tendencies. Without a change in attitude, he won't find employment. After starting to use online banking with my son's support, I've become proficient in its use. Once accustomed, the convenience and time-saving aspect of not needing to physically go to a bank is significant. While I can forgive Ryan, this situation has been a good opportunity. As you age, there's a tendency to be resistant to new things. However, I now aim to be more open to adopting new technologies. Riding the wave of change like that, I want to work as long as possible.
Get out of the way, you filthy old man.
It's the worst having to work at such an old age.
Don't worry, we won't end up like that old geezer.
Right. We worked hard in college and finally got a job at this major company.
Exactly. Without an education, you can only get a job like that, right?
No thanks. We're on the fast track to success.
I was disappointed by the words of this year's new employees. They all graduated from prestigious universities.
John, you've got to give them a piece of your mind.
No, I think people like that won't understand unless they go through it themselves.
You've always had such a big heart, John. Your dad was a great man too.
My dad was strict. He didn't let me go to college and only said I had to work.
Well, that's true, but I wouldn't have been able to keep working if it weren't for your dad.
Helen, who was cleaning with me, is now 75 years old but still very energetic. My name is John Uriver. I am 62 years old. I thought to myself, life flies by so fast. I've also come to feel the changes of the times. I've worked hard behind the scenes until my dad's company grew this big. I am who I am today thanks to my strict dad and Helen. As Helen says, my dad was a truly serious person. My dad was born in the early 1930s, and he often talked about his war experiences. In a time when there was nothing to eat, my dad and his brother survived by luck, since they were too frail for the war. Afterwards, they survived on potatoes and scavenged books from their burnt house, waking up at 3 a.m. in a barracks to bake cornbreads and pushing a cart to sell them at train stations for income. When cornbread sales began to decline, my dad noticed a black and white advertisement in the newspaper. He started a small advertising company with the money he had saved. Running around for ad sales and operating printing machines became their daily life. As times changed and supermarkets began to open, advertising for sale items became busy. And Helen, who had been hired as an office worker back then, has been working hard ever since. As far as I can remember, my dad's company was still busy, and I often visited his factory. I'll never forget the smell of ink from those times. Life was still unstable, and though I studied hard in elementary school, my dad always said, "Read books." Our house was filled with many books, but many books were too difficult for a primary schooler to understand. Although I was physically weak and not good at sports, my mom carefully considered my nutrition, and somehow, I managed to keep up with school despite frequent absences. Then, when I was in middle school, my lovely mom passed away suddenly. We began to live by ourselves, just me and my dad. My dad tried to stay strong, but I had no appetite and was tired of crying. During that time, Helen, the office worker, would always bring over dishes she made. Helen had lost her husband and was working hard to raise her 2 sons. She studied bookkeeping independently and handled the accounting, which my dad greatly appreciated. Watching my dad, I chose the high school via correspondence courses and worked in a kitchen at a newly popular restaurant while attending at high school. I gave up on college and chose commerce in my correspondence courses, learning typewriting, bookkeeping, and business. The basics of kitchen work were cleaning. I learned to wash dishes and serve meals there. What helped the most was getting 1 meal for free. I worked in the kitchen since I was 16, never quitting, attending weekly correspondence school classes at night, and practicing commercial business on a small typewriter I bought for home use. I graduated from a correspondence course at age 19. Despite the era moving towards computers, the restaurant had high hopes for me, and I worked there for 10 years. Following my dad's advice, I read various books and attended a vocational school for IT for 3 years. Computers were introduced to my dad's company. On Sundays I worked in the restaurant, and on Wednesdays, my day off, I went to my dad's company. I married a woman I met at the restaurant and was blessed with a lovely daughter. By then, I was 30 and started helping with sales under my uncle. I expressed my gratitude to the long-supported restaurant and learning customer service alongside my uncle. Even though I was weak